Thanks for coming on the show. It does seem like every show I do here, I have somebody from Legal Sports Report coming on and entertaining this conversation. And as they say, where there's smoke, there's fire. I guess the question is, at this point, do you foresee any sports book that is legal in the United States offering college player props this football season based on what the president of the NCAA said this weekend?
Yeah, Craig, and the reason we do that is because last week in New Jersey there was another gaming conference, and so what was the topic? It was NCAA player props. Mark Hicks, one of the executives from the NCAA, spoke. John Steinbrecher, the MAC commissioner, he spoke as well. John seemed a little reticent about this prop ban, said, well, if, people aren't doing it legally, they're going to do it elsewhere. But obviously, as we've seen in Ohio, the amount of handle bet on college player props for the year 2023 was like 1.5%. And so, as Jay Snowden of Penn Entertainment, their CEO, said, we don't think this is going to materially affect us that much in terms of handle and revenue. So we're fine with it. I think, as far as I know, I think Montana seems like the only state that said they're not going to do this because they haven't had any instances of athlete harassment. But, we've seen a growing list, right, since Baker came out and said he wants this banned. Ohio said they'd ban it. Vermont, Maryland, Louisiana have all said they're going to get rid of it. It looks like, New Jersey has legislation. North Carolina has legislation. I think in both are Republican and Democratic. Those bills are led by opposite sides of the chamber. So that's super interesting. Obviously, both sides, everybody kind of sees that, harassment is, unnecessary, unacceptable. And then these athletes, a lot of them, as Mark Hicks said, have been betting on themselves, Craig, which is super interesting, right? We saw Butte in one game, I think it was LSU Florida State a couple years ago. He had taken, I think, his over on catches and was yelling at his quarterback during the game when he didn't have any. So that's something that's, can't happen, right? Everyone wonders why, guys can't bet on themselves. Here's somebody that's causing problems. Maybe the game plan's going exactly the way it should, but here's a player who has more pressure on himself to, hit his prop to make money, and that's going to cause, potentially him to have a bad relationship with his quarterback that night, or the offensive line, or the other receivers, or whoever it is, and that's why this can't happen. So, yeah, I mean, in a year maybe perhaps this could change. Doesn't seem like Montana's going to do it as of yet. Certainly a lot of other states are leaning that way toward a player prop ban. Yes, maybe people go offshore, but I think for the NCAA this is a PR win because they don't want the harassment. I mean, I did have a regulator from one state say, everyone's a jerk. I didn't use the word jerk online. It starts with player props for college. At what point does it end? Because there's always going to be, unfortunately, people who, bet more than they can chew or whatever it is. And so this is an issue that's not going away, and we'll see what's next.
Yeah, it's just such an easy conversation to have if indeed the handle on these player props, as you guys have reported, is so low, 3, 4, 5%, whatever it is. That's number one. Number two, I just don't understand the easiest answer for all of these things that come under these indiscretions, Mike, is just maximum bets placed on these things. Like, you can even allow these player props to happen as long as the max bet is $50 or $100. I mean, what are these college kids going to do? Get like 100 of their friends just to make $1,000 to bet online? I mean, it's just so easy to do. I don't understand it. I never will. Why they just don't max out the amount of these on some of these kids. But we'll see what happens. My feeling is, like you said, an easy thing to just eliminate come the fall. All right, now let's get to the NBA. This is a little bit tougher. Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, basically is throwing his hands up in the air, sort of like Roger Goodell is in a way, as we saw, saying, hey, look, there's only so much we can do with sports betting. There's only so much we can limit this. And inevitably, it's kind of like, feels like pushing, what do they say, kicking the can a little bit to say, hey, look, we can't handle it. So maybe the sports books are the ones that should be handling it.
Yeah, Craig. So the NBA has sportsbook partners, right? I think it's FanDuel, DraftKings, BetMGM, maybe a couple more. And so Silver basically said, with those specific partnerships, it's easy to say maybe to them, in the case of the Jonte Porter lifetime ban with two-way players, hey, guys, let's not offer this anymore. And I think, as far as I know, just polling sportsbooks over the weekend, they seem like they're fine with that. Hey, if you don't want to offer the under on the 13th man on the roster, that's perfectly fine with us. Now, maybe if it's, LeBron, Steph, Luka, Anthony Edwards, we'd like to offer those props. Obviously, people are betting on them. It's going to be less easy. First off, those guys are going to want to do it given the money they make. And secondly, it's going to be less easy for anybody to pull anything off with them because, as the Jonte Porter thing, DraftKings was able to spot this on its daily highest, bet players on props. How is Jonte Porter number one in this list? It's usually superstar guys, rookies, whoever it would be, major market players. The 13th man on the Raptors getting top prop bets for unders doesn't make any sense, and that's how we're going to catch this thing. So, the legal market in that sense has been good. As Silver said, our other sports books, just because our partners say it, are they going to then comply as well? Because if the regulator allows these bets, then, it's a huge process in terms of trying to get them off. So I'd imagine, again, like NCAAs, if you want to not have two-way players or lesser paid players, and then maybe the unders on those particular players off the board, I think most sports books would be all right with it because people aren't betting heavy on this and the revenue they're getting isn't that heavy. Now, if you want to expand it, maybe you get some pushback. But I think, again, this is, Craig, another PR win for the books, the league, the regulators, the integrity monitoring service, all those people who work together to just say, hey, let's get rid of this in this specific instance, see how it goes. If there is a problem, maybe they can shift it. But it seems, again, like a PR win for all parties involved if they just get rid of these specific bets.
Yeah, and again, it's part of the conversation as we evolve in the world of sports betting. And speaking of evolving, it feels like we're coming to the end of the story potentially, although they're going to make a movie about it, I guess, with this whole Ipe Mizuhara is now pleading guilty to all of these allegations and charges that he stole all this money from Shohei Ohtani. Last week, we learned a little bit more about this, how the money was funneled in to a casino through one of these reality stars on the Housewives show. So, I mean, I don't know. Is it over? Is it over yet? Do you think, Mike? Is this it? I mean, it feels like they want this to go away as quickly as possible. Like he's just pleading guilty and trying to push it away. Do you think that that's what's going to happen here?
Yeah, Craig, I think MLB hopes so. They have such a huge stake in this thing. And so Ipe Mizuhara, the former interpreter of Shohei Ohtani, is accepting a guilty plea on stealing $17 million from Ohtani's bank account to fund, his gambling losses to an illegal bookmaker. Like you said, who would have thought Real Housewives would be involved at the centerpiece of this? Seems like they are. I think the Daily Mail reported over the weekend that Real Housewives is figuring out, is it legal to show the reaction from some of the other people on the series to this? I mean, it's unbelievable, Craig. Who would have thought, like you said, we got a production company making a TV series about this thing. It is wild. And then, you see some of the details in this latest release by the Justice Department. You have this guy getting $60,000 in dental work, Ohtani agreeing to pay, and then this guy grabbing the money and then taking it for himself. You saw him buy, I think, $325,000 worth of baseball cards from a reseller. And then what was he going to do with them? He was going to go sell them to try to make up his gambling debt. I think he impersonated Ohtani at the bank 24 times. I mean, it's just eye-popping, the stuff that's coming out of this thing. So like you said, Craig, MLB has stake. They have a business relationship with the sports books. They want this thing to go away. I think they're super happy that at least as far as we know, Ohtani's been cleared in this thing by federal authorities, so he's not part of it. And like you said, I think they want it to go away. I think we have some court proceedings coming up this week, so we'll be following it. It's wild. Who knows where it's going, but it's crazy.
Yeah, it should be a fun show if they end up making it. I'm sure that no one's going to be happy that they're going to make a movie about this, but I think it is coming. All right, Mike, great stuff as always. Thanks again for coming on Newswire. Really appreciate it. We'll check you out on social media and over at LegalSportsReport.com. Thanks again.
My pleasure, Craig. Thanks a lot for having me. Have a great week.